Sorry. Welcome to Krachwerke. And why do we like pedals so much? There must be something more than just, oh, it makes pretty sounds with my guitar. So I've always liked pedals, but I've never been one of those pedal freaks. So over the years I've owned a gazillion different pedals, from Boss to expensive ones to very, very cheap ones to Behringer ones. Personally, I've always looked for exactly the same kind of sound, kind of really heavy distortion, no fizz at the top, all the growl in the bottom end, really full. And so when I bought distortion pedals or drive pedals, that is what I was looking for. I didn't just buy stuff to try and see, oh, how's this and how's this and how's this. I was always chasing a specific kind of tone. And as those that play guitar and buy pedals know, you're never 100% happy, ever. Anyway, I'm going to look at this today from two aspects. One, from us as somebody who's buying, as a person who's buying pedals and plays guitar, tone chasers, shoegazers, whatever. But I'm also going to give you a little bit of insight from my point of view, why I started building pedals and why this has suddenly become an obsession to me. So the interesting thing about guitar is that when you play electric guitar, you don't play an instrument. You play 3 or 4 at the same time. You can't take the amp out of the equation, or the pedals out of the equation, or the speakers out of the equation, or the guitar, or whatever. It's all one instrument. It's not like you buy a violin, you play violin. If you play electric guitar, you play guitar and amp, pedals, effects, After Effects, you name it, right? So that's one thing. So kind of, you could argue pedals are a necessity for pretty much every guitar player. The other thing is that, I suppose to a degree, it really kind of speaks to our psyche. There's this pretty little box that looks interesting, that has stuff that you can twiddle with, that does certain things. It can be an impulse buy, it can be a fascination with the pedal, with the tone, with the artwork, with the builder, with where it comes from, with what parts are in it. There's all these things that really, really fascinate people and make them chase specific pedals. It's sometimes just an absolute collector's kind of thing, where you just want to collect stuff because it's cool. You know, people collect all sorts of shit under the sun, so why not pedals? But I think what differentiates, and I'll get back to that later, why I started building them as well, is like the thing that differentiates pedals from most things is their appeal and their usefulness as well. They have resale value, they look nice, they are small and compact, so they can be stored if you don't use them. There's all these additional aspects that make pedals kind of like the perfect thing, you know. literally the perfect thing. It's better than jewelry. It's better than EDC knives, because that's the new thing as well. Or it's better than gadgets, because it actually serves a specific function that you can always use in your hobby if you are a guitar player. And interestingly enough, you will most likely always go back to one you've either already sold or stacked away. So you might want to rebuy it. So from a buyer's point of view, I completely understand the psychology, because it's not just the psychology, but it's also actually the usefulness of the item that actually makes you want to buy it. The aesthetics, the whole story behind it. You know, some pedals that go back to the 60s and are being remade, and all these myths and legends that are in there. I mean, I think that people who like music, both who like to play music or play guitar, and also those who just like to listen to music and go to gigs, they all have a typical or the same kind of wishes and wants from life. They have the same kind of idea of what really makes them happy, and it falls all within the same kind of complex structure of fame and fortune, of nostalgia, of art, tone, technology, all these things. So from a builder's point of view, I've always wanted to build pedals, but I was kind of held back by one thing, and that was I didn't know, in my circumstances, how I would make the enclosures. Everything else was like, I can learn this is not a problem. It was the enclosures that kind of got me, and why I stopped. I didn't want to use water slides. I wanted the enclosures to be durable, so the paintwork, that it can take a bit of a knock. Obviously it's not going to take any knock you give it, but it has to take some sort of knock. It kind of held me back until at some point I got a little laser engraver. Tried it and I loved the way it worked out. But again, from a builder's point of view, from my point of view, what really gets to me about building pedals is that it encompasses all the things that somebody like me loves. Art, tech, both old and new, music, making different kind of music. I'm not into all the old parts and all the, this transistor from that era and this thing from Russia, and I don't care. I think in the end, when you're playing live or you have it recorded, fucking nobody will know what the fuck's in there anyway. As long as it sounds good, I am happy. And is reliable, obviously. So it encompasses so many things for me: the artwork, the hands-on building, the learning something new, fiddling with little things, learning new little skills, from whether it be soldering or electronics, maths, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It is all these different little elements that have to come together to eventually then produce one of these things. And looking at the builders that, I'm not talking about the big companies, I'm talking about, the boutique builders. They all have that same kind of look and vibe to them, if you haven't noticed. Now, I'm assuming that either they are like that and therefore they fit in, or they want to fit into that look and vibe and therefore they sculpt themselves. I don't look like that, I don't think so. But I've always been the outlier. Somebody will know what that means. Anyway, so where was I? Lost my train of thought. Hold on. So anyway, yeah, for me it's perfect. I was skilled as a graphic designer. I've always loved Lego, building stuff, creating something. That's the other thing. You're actually creating something that somebody else can use. And what I was trying to get to earlier is that I think that most of the people that build pedals are not chasing fame and fortune in the same sense, especially money. I think that what they get a kick out of is if they build a pedal and they themselves really fucking like it, or if somebody buys it and it gives them and they say, listen, this is the best pedal I've ever built. Or even better, if it ends up on some celebrity guitar player's board, or if you find out a record or a big song or hit was recorded using that pedal. I think that's really what people like me are chasing, you know. I had somebody buy the Torquemore, and I really wish I got some feedback from him, because he's a big fish in the metal world, and I was hoping for like, oh, it would be great if he says something, you know, it would be great if he uses it or says, oh, we used it on this. I'm just waiting for it. I've not heard anything yet, and not holding my breath, because obviously you buy a pedal, you might not like it. The look and feel might give a certain impression. Once you put it into your own rig, it might have a completely different aura about it once it's running. So you never know. That's the other thing. It's a bit of a hit and miss when it comes to, are you making something? And so that's the last part I wanted to mention, is that it's art. You are creating an enclosure, you're creating a certain sound, and if you want to be a true artist, you have to create something that you yourself like, want, are happy with, are proud of. But what you can't do is expect others to like it, because art's in the eye of the beholder. So you have to be kind of true to yourself. If you want to make money, I suppose you got to chase copying the famous stuff, you know, the tone benders and the tube screamers and the clones and shit like that. It'll kind of guarantee you sales and all sorts. And I'm not dissing that at all. That's anybody's vices. I don't care. But if you want to try and create art for the sake of art, i.e., an enclosure that is the way you like it, a tone that is the way you like it, if people don't like it, you're just gonna have to kind of accept it. Same with guitars, you know. I was looking at the Bulldogs, the one that CS Guitars won the public vote from, and what a job. I wouldn't want one, but I 100% appreciate the end results. And that's what I mean. It's like, even if something could be really good and useful, it still doesn't mean that everybody's gonna like it, or it's everybody's cup of tea. Going back to fiddly biddly bits, I mean, that's the other thing, right? People sell these fiddle things. Just buy a pedal with a bunch of knobs on it. 3 knobs, switch, woohoo, yay, you can sit there all day switching these things. And if they're well built, it'll be fine, you know what I mean? Anyway, here's a little lineup. This is the Herrscherin Plus. Gain, tone, volume, and bottom end tight and looser switch. I really like this pedal. It's really brutal sounding. It's like a one pedal doom machine, end of story. And the tones are really versatile. Once you start fiddling with some knobs, they really affect the overall sound as you mess with them. The Torquemore is the one that was bought by a guy who is big in the metal world and also runs his own studio. I mentioned would be nice. Tone, gain, volume. I think this one should be the flagship. I really like the sound of it. Again, by itself, it sounds really, really heavily distorted and dirty, but actually it's not that high gain. But it is the sound that is created once it's actually recorded that I was chasing. This was one I just built, the Herrscherin fuzz pedal, which I love, but I wanted to see if I can fit it into the small kind of form factor, which I did quite successfully and fairly neatly as well. However, too much fiddling about trying to build this, so I'm not going to build this form factor again unless anybody says otherwise in the comments. I would take it as a request. And the other thing that happens is you've come to Halloween and you've got all this extra crap lying about from building pedals, so you build your daughter a little light box for her carved pumpkin on the weekend. So there you go. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that people keep buying a shit ton of pedals, especially mine, and to like, subscribe, share and all that stuff, and check out what pedal builders are doing outside of their pedal building as well. Thank you very much.